devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand, bang, got my hand. Call
The Sportsocracy.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
What up? We are here. We're doing stuff. Draft rolling on. We have a list of the Combine invitees. So with no Tank and I on ESPN Radio, I figured I would come do a little live, answer some of your questions. All those fun things that we like to do on off days, because I don't like taking off days. I don't like being off. I always want to feel like I have something to do in a given day. We've got a handful of questions already in the YouTube chat. Get to those here quickly. Red Sea, can someone build a time machine to get us there faster? No, because I'm not even kind of ready, but I am closer than I usually am. Andreas Pinckney, at some point, someone has to figure time travel out. This waiting is killing me. Well, that's what you got us for, because we can talk about it for 70-odd, some odd more days before we actually get there, which is, it's good for us. It's called content, and we really need it when there's no football. David L., feel like all the quarterbacks in this draft, including Mendoza, are capped. They are who they are without room for much development. How wrong am I? I don't think you're wrong. I do look at a guy like Taylon Greene from Arkansas. I think he's got room to grow. I think there are guys in this class that can get better, but I don't think they're stars. Like, I don't think Fernando Mendoza is going to be Tom Brady or even Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I don't see that in him. I see a really good version of Kirk Cousins. This quarterback class is not good. It's probably the worst one I've ever seen. So I think this is a really bad quarterback class. Andreas, I've been hearing a lot of smoke about the Saints 11, Jeremiah Love, and Mekhi Lemon. Have you been hearing any of this, Jeremy? Love, yes. Lemon, no. I'm actually hearing Lemon's more of a middle or round one guy than top 10. I won't be shocked if he ends up in the top 10, but I'm not. I will be surprised if we see a guy that's 5'11 that's really slot specific go in the top 10. In this class, there's just so many receivers. When you find a position that's really deep, that usually means the guys on the high side will go lower than you think. Will Workman asked, how did Jaden Ott not get an invite? We're actually going to get to that. I got a whole list of guys, and I can't tell you how they didn't get an invite. I am going to give a little overview of the selection process, which might make it make a little bit more sense than it probably does when you're just looking at names on the board. And Jaden Ott is one of the ones that I'm going to talk about. Red Sea, actual question, is Chambliss eligible for the draft, or does he have to go into the supplemental draft? I've been asked this question a lot, and for lack of a better term, we don't know the answer because we don't know when the suit's going to be adjudicated. So there's a drop-dead date that a kid has to be in the draft pool or they're just not eligible. The longer Trinidad Chambliss fights this, the more likely he is to end up in that pool where you didn't get in the draft pool. He would be out of eligibility, which means he's automatically in, so they could make an exception. I just don't think they will. So Trinidad Chambliss did not get an invite to the Combine. That is very telling to me. I still believe he's going to win the lawsuit, whether he should or not. I mean, hell, a kid just got a 9th year of eligibility. So thinking Trinidad Chambliss isn't going to get to 6, I just don't buy it. Let's see. I believe it's C-Hot, or it might be Chaut or Call. I'm not sure. In the chat, let me know what that actually stands for. Never want to mispronounce somebody's name. As it pertains to Combine snubs, what do you think about TJ Guy from Michigan? C-Hot. There we go. Thank you for clarifying that for me. What do you think about TJ Guy from Michigan getting snubbed? He seems like he might be a good late-round pick for Washington. Good to chat with you again. Always good to see your name, my friend. TJ Guy is one of those like 6th, 7th round guys for me. I don't think that not going to the Combine is going to preclude him from getting drafted. It just makes the pro day bigger. I was less shocked that he didn't get invited than a handful of other guys. Not because I don't like him. I don't know exactly what number I have on him. I can try to. I want to say TJ Guy's like my 290. Again, not that I dislike him, just I do not currently have a draftable grade on him, so I wasn't as upset. But I understand how somebody would be. You watch the tape on him and you go, that kid right there is a draftable player, and then we see some other names. Hell, I'm not going to lie to you. I saw some names on the list and went, how did you get invited? And a handful of these other names I have on my list didn't, and that doesn't make any sense to me. But thank you, C, for that question. Moabdi, Jeremy, what do you make of the new stick to the model site? Moabdi, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know what that is. So in the chat, if you'd like to tell me what that is, I'll investigate it. But that's a new one to me. David L., if the Falcons lose Pierce to the Georgia State Penitentiary. How the hell do you say that word? I don't find myself getting arrested very often. So, penitentiary. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know how to say that word. They would gain some cap room immediately without penalty, right? Yes, there is an ineligible player. The guarantee you don't get relief from, the non-guarantee you do. The good thing is it would allow you out of some of the money. You could void some of the guarantees too, because there are felony clauses in most draft pick contracts. Shamar Stewart got a little upset about this. It's not the felonies clause that he objected to. There were some other things that were more morality clauses. But practically every contract has if you are convicted or charged with a felony, then we can void your contract. So stick to the model is where you can go through a whole offseason, including the draft as a GM. Oh, sheep shearer. That sounds fun. The lovely the lovely Megan running all the things that are not the live stream. Jot that down because I would really like to dig into that later on today. Stick to the model. I like that a lot. If it's any good, I've seen a few of those. One of them the NFL did a few years ago. It sucked. So hopefully stick to the models better. If it is, you rest assured we'll probably be putting out videos of that by the weekend because that would help just a whole lot. Okay, I think I've gotten through all the questions in the chat. Keep firing those out there. I'll get to them at the end. So I'm not going to lie to you. I've been sitting here a little pissed today. Just, I'm looking at the list of guys that will not be included in the 2026 Combine in Indianapolis, where we will be live just 2 weeks from now. And I just found myself getting angry. So I want to explain how all of these things happen. I also want to explain how the NFL picks these guys. So something that I have found out in the last few years, Shrine, Senior, American Bowl, Hula Bowl, all of those things, those don't do anything to help you getting invited to the Combine. So there is a panel over the course of the year. It's people that work in the league, different teams, that anonymously can say who their top 300 guys are over the course of the year. The NFL takes these things, compiles them, and basically makes a master list. This is the top 15 quarterbacks. This is the top 30 running backs. This is the top 45 wide receivers, the top 30 edge rushers, the top 30 defensive tackles, on and on and on. They get to this point, and they have compiled that list around the league, and they come up with a list that is who are invited to the Combine. Bill Workman said, the hell with anonymous, let's make them put their names on it. Well, they won't do it if you make them put their names on it. So we do that over the course of the year, and there are names that I am less upset about. What I'm really upset about is this arbitrary number of 317, 319, right there in that ballpark of why are we so beholden to that number? When you see a kid like Tyron Montgomery out of John Carroll, that kid should be at the Combine. It's stupid that he's not. I'll get to him here in a little bit. When you have a kid that goes nanners at one of your bowl games, not making the most of it is incredibly stupid. And that's what the NFL has now done. You've taken a handful of guys that have gone through the process. They did everything they were supposed to do. They have hyped up their own draft stock. And now, instead of giving them the opportunity to come run and be measured and interview with teams, you're bringing in some guys that I don't necessarily need to talk to. I need to see Tyron Montgomery run. I want to see Tyron Montgomery run. I want to talk to a handful of these guys about, it could be a range of things. Why did you stay at the school that you stayed at? Why did you not transfer? Were you offered NIL money that you did not take? Those are things that would be really conducive to my evaluation of these guys on the whole. We didn't get that. Bill Workman said they could add a day, make it 400 prospects easy. I don't even think you have to add a day. I know how this whole schedule works. This will be my third in a row that I've been in the building for. There's a lot of grab-ass time. I mean, we spend a lot, and I enjoy it. That's how Tank almost gets hit by a bus, saved by Darren Sproles. Here by the grace of Darren Sproles. Thanks, 4-3. I enjoy that. But if you're telling me in the course of time we couldn't find a way to get this to 350, I mean, because I don't even think we have to get 400. I've seen the same 20-some-odd names on every list that I've seen today. It's really not that difficult. Just give me the guys that I want to see. I don't want to be talking about snubs. If they're a snub, they should be here. If we can even make the case, like C did earlier with TJ Guy. I want that guy here too, because this is another chance for them to raise their hand and say, look at my tape again, and that's what this is supposed to be. So the fact that we're limiting this to 319 is incredibly, incredibly stupid. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not the most popular draft analyst on YouTube. I'm not the most well-known. I think I have made a decent name for myself over the course of time. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a list, and anybody in the chat, if you want to add names, TJ Guy, I've already jotted him down. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I want to make the case for these guys. So I am going to open invite every single player I'm getting ready to say. I am a radio show in Asheville, North Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina. It is, we've got a few million people right here. If you need somewhere to say all the things you'd say at the Combine, here's your open invite. You get in touch with me. It's Jeremy at thesportsocracy.com. You can reach any of us pretty easily. We're very easy to find. I want to give you the chance to do what the NFL didn't, because I think every guy I'm getting ready to say deserved to be in Indianapolis. And is it a great solution? No. But it's the best solution I've got. This is what I do for a living. I put a lot into this, and I think every guy I'm getting ready to say deserved to be at the Combine. So any of these players have an open invite anytime from now to April 23rd when the draft starts. Actually, it goes all the way to April 25th because that's the last day of the draft. It's not much, but it's the best I can do. I'm going to start where we always start, which is quarterbacks. Mark Gronowski, kid out of Iowa. And I'm not going to go through the list and go, he should have been here instead of blank. If the NFL thinks this kid should be here, then he should have been here. This kid should have been here as well. Not instead of somebody else, but as well. Mark Gronowski was an FCS kid, and I can tell you over the course of last year, around whether it was the Senior Bowl or the Combine or any events that I did last year, I heard Gronowski's name a lot. And what I kept hearing was he would have been a draftable player in this class if he had entered the draft. He didn't. He went to Iowa. So he goes to Iowa, and Iowa's offense is not exactly what you would say prodigious. Stat line wasn't great. You got to see in the weather of Iowa that maybe the arm strength is not exactly where you want it to be. He wasn't as hyper accurate at Iowa as you want him to be. So to me, Mark Gronowski's the definition of a kid that I want to watch come to Indianapolis and throw within the confines of a Combine workout. This is like the definition of who I want to see in this thing. He doesn't get invited. That doesn't make any sense to me. So you want to ding him for being older. You want to whatever it is that you dinged him on that didn't get him here, it's stupid. This kid is really gritty. I loved his tape at South Dakota State. I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't love it at Iowa. But in a quarterback class where we do not have a clear number two, and I'm not saying Gronowski would be the two. I'm saying we don't have a clear two in this class. That's how bad this class is. This kid deserved to be here. And it makes me angry that Mark Gronowski's not here to work through the drills and the 40 and the interviews that come into the Combine. Mark Gronowski should be here. And I'm upset that he's not. That's the first name on my list. I'm going to make a look at the chat and see if there are. I'm going to try to stay not ahead of the chat, but just not let it get 500 deep to where I have to go back and investigate those things. I'm also making notes because I'm going to cut all of this for Reels and things like that for TikTok, so I apologize. Okay. Penix asked, who are the character concerns in this draft? Do you think the JPJ stuff will bring them down? I know more about that when I get to the combine. That's really where we all compare notes, and I'll be able to tell you more there. So I'm not trying to push that question off. I just can't. I can't answer it as well right now as I want to. I mean, we've all heard David Bailey. There are a handful of others. We will talk about that when we get to the combine. Do I think the JPJ stuff brings them down? I do. I think if you have a legit red flag, then it could bring you down after what we just saw out of James Pierce Jr. Andres Pinckney said he's worried about Bailey's character issues with the Pierce stuff. Halsey asked, they needed to wait until after the season to charge the BYU wide receiver. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. I just found that out about 30 minutes ago. So I don't have any information there. I wish I did, but I don't. But I found that to be very odd myself because they opened that investigation like a year ago. Moabdi, Jeremy, do you think a running back like Jadarian Price can get drafted higher based on the extra value he offers as a kick returner? Drafted higher, I would probably say no. Just solely because so many teams do not put a ton of stock in that. I think it's getting more and more that teams are as time goes on. I don't think that will get you drafted higher. I do think it could confirm your draft ability, but I don't necessarily think you go from an early 5 to a late 3 because you can return kicks. It doesn't hurt, but I don't think it's changing your draft stock. It could, however, change the likelihood in which you are drafted. C asked, based on what you're saying, do you think they should not invite the blue chip players? I'm only asking because they get invited and don't work out. What's the point of being there? Networking? That's exactly what it is. So I believe, and this is just nobody asked, but if the @NFL Draft Nerd was able to fix the NFL Draft Combine, here's how I would do it. I would pick the top 30 consensus guys. I know you're not going to work out, and that's fine. I would give all 30 of you the second day that we're here to yourselves. It's a media day as it sits. So the way the schedule works right now, we come in on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday is all coaches. Actually, Monday and Tuesday are all coaches, GMs, etc. Occasionally, we'll get one coach, a stray coach on Wednesday that couldn't get in until Wednesday. Put all the coaches on Tuesday, or put them all on Monday. I don't really care. Take that top 30 guys. Those guys are doing media on Tuesday. But they're not working out. Stick to your 319, but don't count the other guys. So now we've got 350 players. The workouts are the same number of players that we're expecting here. And if guys don't want to work out, that's their prerogative. But it would cut down on these snubs because I feel like everybody on my list would have been in that next 30. And that gives media guys, podcasters, people that are really doing the yeoman's work here and don't have the access to the agencies and things like that. That gives you a crack at the top 30 guys that I'm not sharing the podium with Matthew Berry and me, Tank, people like us that we have access to these guys. I never ask questions. I do like meeting them there, putting a face to the name, and then we kind of go down that rabbit hole. I think that would fix a lot. That's the answer to a question that nobody really asked me is how would I fix it? But see, yes, that is the point. The interviews are one of the biggest parts of the combine. These guys you're in a huge ballroom in Indianapolis. These guys go behind locked doors. They have their interviews with teams. This is where teams get really their first shot at the players. So those red flags we were talking about, this is where guys start answering for it. Let's see. Bill Workman said the Draftmas Combine coming next year, host it the week before the Combine in Western North Carolina or the upstate of South Carolina for the guys who got snubbed. I'm in. I'm totally down. Kelvin Joyner asks, what's stopping the teams or any other sponsor from hosting their own Combine? There's actually nothing stopping that. The problem is that you're not going to get anybody that's invited to the other one, so they go, well, nobody cares. I think we're proof positive that that's not true. So, hey, maybe I'll call the people at Ingles, see if we can have the Ingles mulleted at NFL Draft Nerd Combine. I'm totally down. I think that'd be fun, personally. Me and Tank call it. Play it on ESPN 8, the Ocho, right after squirrel skiing. Penix got the answer he was looking for on the BYU receiver. I don't know enough to speak on it, to be really honest with you. Bangus asked, how high are you on Emmett Johnson? It's a running back from Nebraska. Which team is the ideal fit for him? He runs violent. I do agree with you. I think he runs really violently. Who's ideal for him? I think he's going to go somewhere in that 4 to 5 range. Let me look and see. I want to see what my actual numeric number on him is. Do. Dane Key, that's another one. He's not on my list, but it blows my mind. So Emmett Johnson is my 126 overall. So that puts me with a grade late 4, early 5. I think you'll see him with a team that already has an established, speedier running back, and he's going to be the more think of the David Montgomery in Detroit, where he's going to be the big, short yardage guy. Where does that fit best? I look at a team like Dallas to take a little workload off Javonte Williams. Washington, the Jets. These are just the first ones that are coming to my mind. Minnesota. I think all of those would be nice fits for him. Workman said we could have hosted at Furman. Yes, we could. I have a great relationship with those guys. It'd be a lot of fun. Who dat fam? All I want for Draftmas is Jeremiah Love in the black and gold. And I understand that. I definitely understand why Saint fans are looking at Jeremiah Love going, well, that could be fun. Because I think it genuinely would be. I think he's a great, great, great player. Just realized I was looking at the wrong number. So that one's there. And that one's... Sorry. Not the smartest guy you ever met in your life and not great at technical things. We're talking draft snubs for the combine. My next one's Tyron Montgomery, the kid out of John Carroll. Look, he's played 2 years of organized football. That's why he's not here, is because he wasn't on teams' boards because they didn't really know who he was. Because one of the GMs of one of these bowl games found this kid, went, damn, he's really fast. He showed electric hands and really good feet, and he's really fast. And the NFL just kind of disregarded it. I think this one's one of the biggest misses of the draft season because this kid's such a good story. So you get him running at the combine. That's something people want to see because they want to see how fast he is. And it's a great story, good chance to prop up the kid, and a good chance to get the kid in front of these teams. I think he's one of the biggest misses of the combine list, that you just missed out on just another reason to watch the combine. It's my 1-minute rant on Tyron Montgomery. My next one's Noah Thomas, wide receiver out of Georgia. He's a big kid, 6'5". I think he's 6'5". 6'5", 205. He's going to run pretty quick. Here's the problem. The tape's not very good. So you look at him and go, height, weight, speed, monster. Can absolutely track a ball. Why does he not get off press coverage at all? Why is the tape consistently showing that he gets lost? Those are the things that I want answered at the combine. So when I get to a player like Noah Thomas, all I can think about is, this is the kid that I want working out here because I want to be able to ask him that question. So why do you not invite him? Noah Thomas is a good enough player, a good enough physical specimen to be drafted among the 256 players that are drafted in April. Now we're not going to get to see what he runs. Now we're not really going to have all those many reasons to go back and look at the tape, and I think it hurts him as a draft prospect. Bill Workman in the chat said Noah's one of the ones who needed the combine for sure. I would tend to agree with you. I think he's exactly the kind of player that I'm looking to see in Indianapolis. Let's see. Red Sea said, I'm tired of seeing people mock Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles at Arizona at 3. I didn't do that. That's why you come here for mock drafts, because I didn't do that, because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm tired of watching people mock Arvell Reese to the Jets at 2, because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Fish MRE, with the Chargers switching to a wide zone scheme, do you think Ione is a great fit, or would you take, say, Caleb Banks and try for a more zone guard later? I think Ione can do practically anything. I don't necessarily think that's the best fit for him. The question is, do you have one of those guys that you like later in the class? I think the most likely answer is probably not. So I would rather take a more talented player that's out of the wheelhouse of quote-unquote scheme fit. I would rather do that than take Caleb Banks at 22? So that would be for me. I've got to have a guard. That's the best guard I've got. Is he a perfect fit for this? No. But even him in a scheme that's not a perfect fit's better than any other guard, whether they're a scheme fit or not. I like Ione a lot. Let's see. I don't see any more questions, so we'll keep rolling right along here with guys that have pissed me off of the from the list of players that were not invited to the combine. The next one is one that I'm going to forewarn you, I'm going to get a little revved up about. Nolan Rucci, tackle, guard, whatever you think he's going to play in the NFL out of Penn State. Just an absolute house. Close to 6'8", 307. He was a 5-star prospect coming out. I just don't really understand how this kid doesn't get to the combine, because there are questions about him he needs to answer. He is a gigantic human, and he's not crazy over – I'm almost remiss to say overweight. He's a thin 6'8" offensive tackle. There's a lot to really like when you watch him. My biggest knock on Nolan Rucci is that I don't always like how heavy his feet look, and I don't like how plodding he can look at times in space. Is that not exactly what we're coming to Indianapolis to do, is to watch these guys go through the drills and see, was it the instruction he got at Penn State? Is he able to move that way? Because I think he is. I've seen high-level tape from him. He was a high-level high school prospect, and I think he deserves the opportunity to show that. And he doesn't get that because we didn't invite him to the combine. And to me, that is absolutely moronic. Is he a perfect prospect? No. For me, he fits in. We did this before we started here. He's my 166 overall. Very much a draftable grade. But now he doesn't get a chance to surge beyond the Shrine Bowl, which he did go to the Shrine Bowl. He doesn't get a chance to surge past that because we didn't invite him to the combine. That's just dumb. Grizzly Bear said he'd be a good guard or tackle. I agree. I think he's probably more of a swing tackle to start, because I'm not sure he can go the guard route. He's really tall. But those are the things I want to see. Bring him to Indianapolis. Let me run him through all the drills. He went to the Shrine Bowl. Not everybody can go to senior. And I didn't get to see any of that. Robert Moore in the YouTube chat asked, is there a significant skill difference between Maui Noah and Fano? Could the Cardinals potentially trade down and, worst case scenario, settle for Fano? There's a lot to unpack there. So the problem with trading down, somebody has to want to trade up. There are no quarterbacks to trade up for. I'm not sure anybody's going to be jumping up and down to trade for an off-ball linebacker in Arvell Reese or a safety in Caleb Downs. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think you're going to take who it is that you want to take. And I don't see anything in Maui Noah that suggests he's going to miss in any shape, form, or fashion. So I would just take the guy that I believe in the most. Fano scares me considerably more than Maui Noah. Not because I don't think he's a good player, but because I think his hit rate is significantly lower and his bust rate is significantly higher. Now, could he be a better pro? Sure. Range of outcomes is wider. But to me, I'm not taking that at 3. I don't think Fano belongs in the top 10, personally. So I do think there is a pretty significant difference between the two. Everybody will see short arms on Maui Noah and start comping him to Will Campbell, which there are a litany of reasons that that's a very inexact comp, but we'll get into that more as we go through the process. Kelvin Joyner, I'm seeing too many people mock Carson Beck to the Jets or the Cardinals in the first round. Am I missing something? I'm a Miami fan, and even I think he shouldn't be drafted until the 4th round at best. This is the best advice I can give you. Anyone that you see mock Carson Beck at 2 or 3, you should take their mock draft. You should write their name down. You should go to your local graphic designer or computer engineer, software engineer, something like that, and have them develop a program that anytime their shit pops up on your screen, your computer bursts into flames. Because if they have Carson Beck or going 2 or 3, frankly, if they have Carson Beck going in the 2 or 3 round, you should not. Life's too short. Don't waste your time with people's things like that. I have Carson Beck in the 200s, and that's where he belongs. Now, quarterback surge, maybe that gets him in the 4th round. That's the best I can do. Anybody that says he's going in the 1st round, I think, is smoking recreational crimes. David L., I recently mocked Caleb Downs to the Jets at 2. I understand the positional value comes into play. However, aren't the Jets in desperate need of a playmaker and leaders? You know them better than I. That's exactly right. You nailed it. I need a player to build a defense around, and I think Caleb Downs can be that. I don't think Arvell Reese can be that as an off-ball linebacker in a 4-man front. Reuben Bain may be able to do it, but I don't think edge rusher is your biggest need. Right now, they need a defensive tackle. Problem is, there's not one that deserves to go at 2. They need linebackers. I can't take one of those at 2. I don't care how good they are. You could tell me it's Fred Warner at 2, and that's what I'm going to need. Like, I need him to be that good. Oh, we're going to miss a super chat because I forgot to hit the button because I'm big stupid. Red Sea, maybe I caught that in time. I don't know. I'm gonna say I hope I did, but I do not know. His super chat. I need buttons. Do I have buttons? Let's see. Oh yeah, we're doing that thing again. Just understand, I'm turning the volume down. That's the wrong one. Let's turn the right volume down. Boop. I don't know how loud this is going to be, so I hope it doesn't beat your eardrums out. Would help if I actually turned it on. That didn't look too loud. In the chat, tell me if that was too loud. Red Sea, if the draft was 15 rounds, I would consider Beck as an undrafted free agent. You're lower than me, but not by a great deal. I don't like Beck as a prospect. I don't think he's I don't think it's a risk that I want to take. David L. said the gong volume was perfect. Let's go. That means we're rolling with the gong for the rest of the live stream. See? Teamwork makes the dream work. Bart Smith said, I prioritize defensive tackle, cornerback, and inside or interior offensive line in Green Bay. Do you agree? Hopefully some decent players will be available in the second round. I do agree. That's exactly what I would be looking for. I somewhere have the team needs. Having somebody to keep me on task has really given me a lot of things that I'm not used to having directly in front of me at this point of the offseason. Let's see. There we go. Free agency preview. What did I say were the team needs for Green Bay? For mine in order were cornerback, defensive line, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, edge, linebacker, safety. That's my top 7 needs for Green Bay. Good thing is you got a bunch of defensive tackles that should be there in the second round. There's a nice little honey hole of corners from about 75 to 100 that I think are nice projects. And interior offensive linemen, I like this class a lot. The more I watch it, the more I find a Trey Zune or I find Jagger Burton or whoever else. I'm starting to really like the interior of this class. Andreas, it's a deep draft, not loaded with generational talent, so I don't think there'll be many trades in the top 10. I tend to agree with you. Lack of quarterback talent in this draft are making people do a lot of clickbaity things, according to Bill Workman. I would agree. Robert Moore, Maui Noah's arm length 33.5. Will Campbell's arm length 32 5/8. Exactly. The other problem with that is that Francis Maui Noah might set the bench record here if he actually did it. Will Campbell was more of a mobile, movable, not bull strong offensive lineman. Penix said Beck will be good in the CFL. I don't disagree with that. Grizzly Bears asked, do you think Arch Manning will be in the draft in 2027 or 2028? He's a weird one, and I'm not going to lie, I don't know. I don't know. I would have thought he would have been in this class because he did it, and I'll level you. If Arch was in this class, he'd go 1. And there would be zero debate about it. As I've gone through the quarterback tape and I watched the back end of how he looked at Texas, he'd be the number 1 pick in this draft. He'd go 1, Fernando'd go 2. And then you wouldn't see a quarterback drafted for 2 rounds. Minimum. Soaring Eagle, more of a free agency question for my team. There's no legit one available outside of maybe Debo. Tell me if this is a good trade option because I think it is. Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know that Jacksonville would come off of him, but you're not the first person that's floated that and me going, I might like him getting another opportunity somewhere else. Because I think Jacksonville's really getting comfortable with Jacoby Myers, with Parker Washington, with Travis Hunter. They've got a lot of dudes, and Brian Thomas did not have a good year. Also, and I'm trying to remember now who's on that. There's somebody on that staff that has been an absolute undertaker for wide receiver talent. Let me see if I'm going to look at the Jacksonville. As soon as I see the name, I'm going to know exactly. Shane Waldron. Forgot he was there. Shane Waldron has been an absolute nightmare for star receivers. And then the next year, once he's gone, they all have the jump forward. So maybe just fire Shane Waldron. But if he becomes available, I would love him for your Denver Broncos, Soaring Eagle. As we get closer to free agency, I'll give you some trade targets. We'll do position-by-position breakdowns and all those things. The boss over here has been really, cracking the whip to make sure that I'm not slacking off in any shape, form, or fashion. Really hate for the draft nerd to, get a moment's peace. Beach, if Kansas City traded Trent McDuffie for a player to fill the need, or to fill a need at wide receiver, running back, or defensive line, who could they get? I don't think that's going to happen. Trent McDuffie would be – so this is always where I go in trade discussions like that. If Trent McDuffie were on the open market, how much money would he get? It's top of the market cornerback money. What is a team willing to give up for that? I think they could get draft picks in terms of who could the players be. You're not going to trade a cornerback for a running back. I don't see any way that happens. I mean, the Jets would do it. They would franchise Breece Hall just to do that. That's the level of running back. Now, I like Breece better than a lot of people. So, and I hope the Jets bring him back. So that is my hope of all hopes. But if Kansas City decides to move on from Trent McDuffie, they're going to get a lot because this cornerback market's not great. Nashawn Wright's getting ready to get $75 million. What do you think Trent McDuffie is going to get out there on the open market? Grizzly Bears, what are the Vikings' needs? That's a good question. Let me pull that up. I apologize. For whatever reason, my throat has been incredibly scratchy today, so my voice is getting hoarse really easily. Okay, Minnesota's team needs for me are – nope, that's the wrong team. Cornerback, safety, running back, defensive line, interior of the offensive line, wide receiver, and linebacker. Now, that is on the assumption that I think they bring back Ivan Pace. If they don't bring back Ivan Pace, then linebacker would go a little bit higher. But those are my needs as they are right now. I see Grizzly Bears say drink some water. I actually just sent Megan to get me some water because I've been coughing for like 2 days. We live in a city where it's 70 one day and then 30 the next, and it just rampages your sinuses. I think that's one of the reasons that I felt like excrement for the last few days is because we were in ice storm, and then it got to 60, and then we were in a snowstorm, and it got to 70, and just the buoying back and forth it sucks. I just want to live in a place where it's 68 degrees every day. Why is that so hard? Robert Moore. Oh, hold on, I missed one. Joshua Pennick said Arch was sneaky good the longer the season went on. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thank you. I thought by the end of the year he was kind of paying off what people had said he was going to be. Andreas Pinckney, Arch is probably going to stay all 4 years. That's what the Mannings do. They do tend to do that. It's easier to do when you have a family that doesn't need the money. And they don't. Robert Moore asked, is it official he's not going to enter the draft with Trinidad Chambliss? It's not because he's still fighting it. So the way that works basically is as soon as that lawsuit is adjudicated to where you're out, we're not letting you back in school, he's automatically in the draft. The problem is there is a drop dead date of you have to be in the draft class. I do not know when that date is. I can find that out, I think. If it's not adjudicated before that, he would have to go to a supplemental draft because he'd have nowhere else to go. That's why we have that, is we've run into a few situations like this over the years. It just hasn't happened much lately. So it is not official that he is not going to enter the draft. If he does, at this point, I almost hope it forces a supplemental draft because it'll work better for him. I don't know where he'll go, but there are so many questions about him that he's not going to have the ability to answer because he wasn't invited to the Combine. He wasn't able to play at the Senior Bowl, all of those things. I think he's made a mistake fighting this, but I said that a month ago. Penix has a good point. Second year for that class of wide receiver did not go well at all. Grizzly Bear, Arch, his senior year will be 2028. You are correct. Nate Jets said, you do a great job for us Jets fans. Awesome. Listen, thank you for that. I always appreciate the kind words. As a lifelong Jet fan, I probably do give a little extra love to the Jets. I try to do it when I see fans, because I know we have a lot of Saints fans. The Commanders fans have been great to me with the work that we've done with those guys. Tank gets some Tampa Bay fans. When I see your name, I'm trying to throw the content towards your team. I can't always remember who everybody pulls for, but I try my damnedest to remember who's who. I'm not very smart, so there's not a ton of room up in my head, but I try. But thank you for the kind words, Nate. That really means a lot. Beach asked, am I the only one that thinks Riley Nowakowski would fit in with Kansas City and Andy Reid? I don't think you're the only one. It's a little bit of a deeper dive. I don't think you're the only one, though. Andreas Pinckney, edge, nose, wide receiver, running back, tight end, and guard are the needs I have for the Saints. Let me look at I actually just had the Saints up. Mine in order are wide receiver, edge, running back, defensive line, which kind of encompass that nose position. And now I'm looking at nose probably should be higher. Cornerback, safety, offensive tackle, and linebacker. So yes, we're very much in concert with that. Soaring Eagle, what the heck's going on with Cleveland? Monken's apparently intrigued by Deshaun Watson. I've heard that as well, and I'm not going to lie, I don't believe any of it. I really don't. I don't believe one word of it. That, to me, feels like Cleveland media grasping at straws because they saw how bad Shedeur Sanders was. Now, I believe I did see that it was Mary Kay Cabot that said that, and she has been notoriously accurate with that. So maybe it is true. I would struggle to believe how anybody would be intrigued by Deshaun Watson at this point. Austin Groves, how deep is lineman this year? It's really deep on the defensive side. It's pretty deep on the offensive side. I would say, let me look at my board here. So in terms of draftable grade, at offensive tackle, I have 23. I have 18 at guard. I have 8 at center. Then we get into it's a little deeper position-wise on the defensive side. I have 11 one techs. I have 9 3 techs. I have 10 5 techs. 11 hand-down edge rushers, 25 standing edge rushers. Standing edge rushers are not always – the way I do this, standing edge rushers are not guaranteed that they have to play in a 3-4. They can sometimes play with their hand down. Guys that I evaluate as a hand down cannot stand up. That's the way my rankings go. And that leads us back into our snubs from the combine. I'm going to be honest with you. This one's hit me in a way that I don't really understand. Brian Thomas Jr., the edge from South Carolina. I absolutely love the kid. His dad played for the Jets. He's one of my favorite Jets of all time. I cannot for the life of me figure out how the NFL did not invite this kid. And people will say, oh, but he wasn't that great at Shrine or whatever. The thing about Brian Thomas is that I know he's going to play a role in the NFL. And I think there's almost no doubt that he's going to get drafted. He just needs the chance to show off in a situation like this. He's the kind of player that I wanted to see in Indianapolis. I also think he would be a home run interview. And this would have been a great opportunity for him, and we culled him out of the flock, and I don't know why. I have Brian Thomas Jr. as my number 6 hand-down edge in this class, a clear draftable grade within 100, not even within 100 spots of the 275 cutoff that I have. I just don't get it. And it upsets me because I like this kid's tape so much, and I was so excited to see him in this situation that I just feel like it's a missed opportunity by the league. Another player in that situation that Bill Workman just mentioned is Mikael Kamara from Indiana. This one pisses me off for a completely different reason, and it's because I think the Indiana guys got the thumb put on the scale of, well, you aren't high-level prospects. Was it just the system? That's why we do this, is to find that out. So all the Indiana guys don't get invited. That makes no sense. We need the ability to compare them hat to hat to guys that we know as 5-star prospects and high level. Was the coaching that good that they're coming in here prepared that way? Mikhail Kamara, and I hate to do this because their last names are the same, Mikhail Kamara and Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State are going to have the exact same problem when they go to get drafted. People are not going to think there is anything more to get out of them. You are what you are right now. The only problem I have with that is what they are right now is NFL players. So you should be in Indianapolis at the Combine. Thank you, Bill Workman, for a very, very easy transition there to another player that made me very angry and I hadn't gotten to yet. I also somehow did not have him on my list, which doesn't make any sense. Okay, let's hit the chat, see if we've got anything else in there. Workman said Brian Thomas and Mikhail Kamara should have been in India. No one will convince me otherwise. Let them come and show if it was the system or not. That's exactly where I'm at. So I'm going to do, over the course of the next couple days, I'm going to do profiles on the Combine snubs. And like I said, they have an open invite to come do my little show in North and South Carolina anytime they want to. And I don't care if they're at the Combine or not. I will and do have a draftable grade on them. Let's see. I'm going to do this now. We are up against a hard out at 115. So words get in my head and it'll drive me crazy. That song will be stuck in my head for the next 17 years. Last call for questions. Get your questions in. I will answer those here in the next few minutes. Beach asked thoughts on Tanner Koziol, Houston tight end. I actually really like him. I really do. I like him a lot. Big, tall, gigantic, basically wide receiver. He's a bulky wide receiver. He's not going to be a great blocker. Teams that don't care about that are going to love him. I've had several team fits for him that I think he goes somewhere late in day 2, early in day 3, and becomes kind of an Aronde Gadsden type that he's not going to be an all-around football player, but for the role that you want him to fit, he's going to be absolutely a stud in that role. Joshua Penix asked, can you explain the hype on Caden Proctor? Because I don't get it at all. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't either. I think it's because he's big and he moves well. You know, he was such a gimmick because they would throw passes to him. And he scored a couple touchdowns at Alabama. When you watch the tape on him, there are times it is hard to watch. He was a super blue-chip prospect. But he didn't always show that way at Alabama. And I just don't see him as a top 50 pick. And I'm struggling to find how anybody does. I saw a mock with him at, 9 to Kansas City, which is nanners. It's insane. It doesn't make even a modicum of sense. But that's what they did. I have Caden Proctor as my – first of all, I have him as a guard because I do not see a tackle there. He is my fourth guard. He's behind Vega Ione, Emmanuel Pregnon, and Armaj Reed Adams from Texas Tech, who I like a lot. Austin Groves, are there any Darnell Washington tight ends in this draft? Not really. Let's see. You got a lot of guys that are really good pass catchers. You don't have a ton that are great blockers. The two that I keep looking at going, they're going to be blockers in this league are Joshua Cuevas from Alabama and Will Kasmerick from Ohio State. Kasmerick's one of the better blockers in this class. I think Dalen Bentley can be a good blocker, but he's not necessarily what you're asking for there. I don't think any of them are that. But I would say he's probably the closest. You know, Darnell Washington is a sixth offensive lineman with hands. There will be very, very few of those. If I do this for 30 more years and I see 3 more of those, I'll be surprised. Let's see. David L. said, not a question, just news. Connor Stallions received an 8-year show cause penalty, appeal denied, punishment stands, as well it should have. Alex with a trio of questions here. Why is Zion Young in the first round consistently now? He's not in mine. The tape on him's good. I had him roughly where I have him now. I think he went 50 to the Lions for me. He was so good at the Senior Bowl that it's the most recent thing you saw. And so people are losing their mind going, oh, my God, he's so unbelievably good. How can he not go in the first round? Well, then you're going to go back and watch the tape, and you're going to figure it out pretty quick. Now, you're going to figure out pretty quick why this kid's not. This is not what he is. I think he's a high 2 with great upside. Alex asked, why is Anthony Hill not getting more love? There's a few reasons for that. The tape's not been consistent. It's not been great. It's a lot of raw. But for me, he's still in the top 50. You want to see it more. He overruns a lot of plays, and his eyes are really lazy. And our final question here from Alex. Why do you not like Jake Golday? It's not that I don't like him. I just don't like him as much as everybody else. I think he's a 75 to 100 late round 3, middle to round 3 linebacker. I think I had him going to Indianapolis, if I remember correctly. And who's more versatile, Brian Parker or Jake Slaughter? For me, it's Brian Parker, and it's by quite a bit. I think Parker can play 4 of 5 spots on the offensive line. Slaughter is more of a center or an absolute worst-case scenario guard. Okay. Our Buffalo Bills 4-round mock draft is coming out right now. We'll have more of those coming out over the next few days. I'll do another live stream tomorrow with draft questions, a few more draft snubs. Follow us on all the social medias for more of those draft snubs because I have way more that I didn't get to. So we'll hit the rest of those tomorrow. Appreciate all of you for joining us. Tank will be coming in here momentarily to record the rest of the mock drafts, and in about 3 minutes, my mic's going to go completely dead. So, appreciate you all for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.